My parents are Tom and Virginia Simpson. They lived in San Diego for a long time. They had 4 kids. My mom was a music teacher for pretty much her whole life, and she was the organist at the church where I grew up. And my dad had a number of different jobs. He worked as a photography teacher, he was in the Navy, he worked as a technical writer, a lot of different things. And they're very family-oriented people. Pretty much everything they did was just about us kids.
Our dad is really generous, and he's always happy to help, and he jumps when people need something. He picks people up when they need a ride. He donates time, he donates money, but it's really hard for him to ask for help from others. When we were in high school, my dad very briefly owned a Jeep Grand Cherokee. He bought one for himself. He was so excited to have it, and then he heard about a missionary family in Mexico that needed a reliable vehicle, and he just very easily let it go and gave it because that was a need that he saw.
The house that I grew up in, we were there for more than 3 decades. And then when they retired, they sold the house so that they could afford to purchase the logs for a log cabin. Their dream before they were even married was to live in a log cabin out in the woods when they retired. And so they sold their house and they used the money to buy the logs of a log cabin. They had to assemble it themselves, but they had all of the logs.
After they moved up to Oregon, part of their plan was always to have a space in their log cabin for our maternal grandmother, our mother's mother, to live with them in her old age. They had a plan for a ground floor bedroom for her with an accessible bathroom, because anticipating what her needs might be as she got older and older. And unfortunately, she didn't live to see that completion.
Then the Bootleg Fire came through, and it just completely destroyed all the logs that were sitting on their property. It just, these valuable logs that this was going to be their house.
They had tried to insure the logs, but they were told that they couldn't insure it because it wasn't a structure. They were told they can't just insure an object. So when the logs all burned up, they had nothing. And this was what they had spent all of the money that they had accumulated over their entire lives on. They had sold their lifelong house in order to purchase it, so it was all of their money gone.
It's gone. And when I heard about it, it just wrecked me, because it's like, well, there goes that plan, now what are they gonna do?
But my dad, he's the kind of guy that when something like that happens, he just rolled up his sleeves and kept going. Without missing a beat, he decided his plan was to make new logs himself. So he bought a mill and he bought a tractor with the little money he had left, and he started to cut down trees and mill the logs himself.
They had a tractor that got stolen off of their property deep in the woods, locked up. Somebody must have brought a truck back into their property with bolt cutters to cut the lock off. It's just mind-boggling that someone was prepared to do that.
And so once again, my dad, he just rolled up his sleeves and he decided he's going to use the winch on his truck to process the logs. And that's what he's doing now, is he's just, it's much slower without a tractor, but he's just using the winch to drag the logs along the ground into the mill and mill them into the logs he wants to make the cabin out of.
And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, come on, I think there's got to be, a better solution than a 70-year-old man having to cut down a bunch of trees and build a log cabin by himself. So, I mean, what are we going to do? How can we help?
Dad keeps plugging along and working hard, but we're worried that it won't be done in time for them to enjoy it.
But at this point, they need help. There's no way that they can do it without help. So we're hoping that we can raise enough money to help them somehow.
If we make less than $10,000, we're going to spend that money on just labor and materials, getting help to get this log cabin built. If we raise $10,000, we're going to get a new tractor for him.
If something really amazing happens and we're able to raise enough, we would love to just simply replace the logs that were burned, buy a whole new kit for them, because the design is already there. They have the blueprints and the plans and the approval. They're ready to build. The foundation is laid. We just need the materials to build it.
Any small amount of money, even $5 would help a lot. $5, $10, $25, anything. I guess I would just ask if you can give, please give. If you can't give, please share the links. And if you're in the Oregon area and you're able-bodied and you wouldn't mind helping out, then that would help too. We'd appreciate that as well.